Pranam viewers, welcome to the Golgappe show. Today we have Makar Sankranti, we have Pongal in southern part of India, we have Bihu in eastern part of India, and we had actually Lori in Punjab and western side of India. Thai, Thai, I don't know how I pronounce it correctly. It's a Surya Dev, I think, in Tamil. So the Pongal is celebrated for 4 days in South. And Thai Pongal is, I think, on 13th or 15th, in between that.
Tomorrow, 15th.
Tomorrow, right? Okay. And even the Makar Sankranti, they have now from 14th of Jan, because of the Surya movement, Surya Dev movement to Uttarayan. It's also celebrated sometime on 15th based on the calendar and all. So whether you are using Thakur Panchang, Dhrit Panchang, whatever calendar you use, based on that, you can celebrate. But do celebrate, guys. What is important is we need to celebrate this festival. Now, before I go to my guest, Tharun Venkatji, on the topic today, very interesting topic, which is affecting all of us, cash flow economics, the process of de-radicalization. Radicalization could be anything. It should not always be faith. It could be your thought process, your certain way of thinking, economics. It could be anything, right? So before I go there, I have one pager which I wanted to share with you all, and I'll want to go through that before I 1 second. Not this one. This is our topic for the day. Okay, so I have put some sticky notes on a book which I was reading, Manu Smriti, but again, the sticky note. So viewers, before I set up the program which we are talking on the economic with Mr. Tharunji, here is some of the data point which I wanted to talk to you guys. So the world total population as of today is approximately 8 billion people. 8 billion people, right? 1.4 each, China and India, approximately. So world total GDP of 200 plus countries, that adds up to only $120 trillion. 120. And do you know how much is the total debt of the entire world? $333 trillion, approximately $333 trillion. Now, if and what is the GDP of America, USA? It's around 28 to 30 trillion dollars. America has been independent for last 200 years. So if it took 200 years for America, USA to make $30 trillion, and China $18 trillion in 70 plus years, what makes us think that other than the 10 major economies, this 330 trillion debt could be paid in the current financial way of doing business? It will never be done. Whoever is the president, whoever wants to fix this debt versus GDP things, it will never ever be fixed. So then what is the option? So the countries who are strong with all the control over SWIFT, IMF, they will try to uh, create a lot of rupture and break the old way of doing business so that they come out clean and start from scratch, wiping out the debt. Is that what Mr. Donald Trump and his tariff policy is heading toward? We don't know. But if you see the second sticky note, the banking collapse symptom in America, banks' hidden losses in America today is around $500 billion. The national debt is around $39 trillion. Okay. And the bank underwatch, there are 71 banks in America. This is as of yesterday. 71 banks are under watch, means there's a huge chance of risk situation. The defense expenditure of USA was $800 billion down. President Trump wants it to be raised to $1.7 trillion in spite of you having $39 trillion debt. The retirement money and the 401k, which was never open to the private equity, has now been open to the private equity even in USA with 7 to 10 years of locking. And lastly, the IRS can now levy your 401k and can directly freeze the account. With all this scenario, I see the world going into a major overhaul and reset. And this is where we would like Mr. Tharunji to come and explain us his perspective on the cash flow economics and the process of de-radicalization. So, Tharunji is one of my contemporary Siddhar, I call him. He is from Tamil Nadu originally, and the brain which he has is amazing, and you guys will be listening to him. So he has made a presentation, and whenever he says, I will show that. In the meantime, Tharunji, आपका स्वागत है. Welcome.
Thank you. So my Hindi is a little okay.
Please go
Typical
in
South
English.
Indian Hindi, grammar.
Yeah.
So let's proceed in English if that's okay, and with all your audience as well.
Yes, sir.
And before I say, on behalf of Sharad Mohanji, kindly subscribe and like the channel, because YouTube has an algorithm which most people don't know. Within the first 30 minutes of any video going live, if you like the video, it has a better audience reach rather than once the video is posted. Most people don't realize that. Something I learned from a few content creators.
Achha. Okay.
So we will talk about specifically US debt and future financial models over our next following podcast. Our initial conversation was when we spoke about geopolitics and what is happening, especially in the subcontinent perspective, when it comes to radicalization, and how do you deal with the internal front. So, to be more specific, that would be today's topic. And there are fantastic people out there who had made their lives work following radicalization, process of de-radicalization, etc. There are experts. We're going to talk and highlight a completely different perspective, a new twist or a new spin. The reason being, most people who are experts in the field, they are all employees. When you are an employer or a business person, your worldview and your perspective of money, motivating people, getting people to work for you, everything changes. So therein, as a financial analyst and someone who understands cash flow, let us talk about today in this exciting topic with a little bit of a small twist, which most people know. How does cash flow affects economics and the whole process of both radicalization and de-radicalization? How does the entire thing goes up? Purely, again, this is from an Indian context. Let's go ahead, sir. So I've put some talking points. Move ahead, sir. So this is a game of narration and an influence warfare. This is not exactly what people suggest or portray themselves as. Has nothing to do with what the reality is. And the growth of this has been directly for yielding political influence, money making, and mobilization. So whether you're a party which is in the ruling formation or in the opposite or in the opposition, you always have a say in what is happening socially. So this has more to do with from a narrative setting. Go ahead, sir. So what happens when an extremist takes over? Extremist thoughts takes over a community. So unlike racism, for me as an individual, I can say that, look, I don't like the white people or the black people or the tall people or people from some certain community, etc. So that is racism at an individual level. Now, when you take the racism at an individual level, put it as a broader perspective and say, you know what, as a community, we despise and disown people of a different community or a particular ideology. There is no room for talk, there's no room for negotiation. It is either me or them. And the levels of extremism or basically has got its own heat scale. Whether it's my way or the highway, or it's only my way, I will not let another person from a different community or a different thought process even breathe. Or I'll just, if I find them, I'll just throw them off the building, or I'll do ethnic cleansing. All of this are different aspects of radicalization. So go ahead, sir. So we have established, so racism and radicalization is not much different. The concepts and psychology are the same, except it involves the community. And what affects across, who is affected across the spectrum? There's nobody who is immune to it. It's mostly the economically weak who become the foot soldiers. The educated business class or the elites, they become the masterminds. There is no such thing as, women or men, only certain people can be an extremist. No. Everyone has got a role. Everyone has their own role, and they fulfill their own role as per their ideology and their ability, which we have seen in the very recent Delhi blast case, where the planners have all been doctors.
True.
And people had come across in criticism of the government saying that no matter how much money that you pump into Jammu and Kashmir, you cannot do away with extremism, which is a very narrow mindset. The immense amount of stone pelting, in the number of stone peltings almost on a weekly basis that used to happen in the valley, has basically come down to zero. So the economically impoverished are not actively participating in extreme activity, but as a support, mental support, etc., yes. The people who are now involved are slightly different. Now, when we come to speaking about top radicalization groups or radicalization themes in India, we have in the last 70 years, largely, again, this is largely, we have seen three sections. One is the Islamic radicalization. From the time that the Wahhabis started funding the Hanafi movement, the Sunni movement, especially the Barelvi, Devband, and their basic concept is right from the childhood. So unlike the Sanatan Dharma or people from the Hindu community who go to the temple or religious congregation or etc. on their whims and when they want to. In Abrahamic religions, they have mandatory congregations. Whether it's a Christians, whether it's a Catholic, the Jacobites, whoever it be it, or the different sects of Islam, they have mandatory congregation. And again, Islam is not, people will say Islam is one. Islam is not one. There are different schools of thoughts within Islam. And they have gone to war with each other, and more Muslims have been killed in just the last decades by other Muslims than anyone else. So the first thing that they are taught over there, even from their childhood or by the time that they open their religious book or part of the belief is, okay, you have to have an hatred towards the kafir, which is a non-believer, the Yahud and Hanud. So you cannot expect a child for whom it has been drilled down from their youth to come across and have a euphoria moment and say, hey, what's going on? So around us, we have either take Pakistan or Bangladesh or Iran. If you were to even leave the community, the punishment is death. You're allowed to convert into, but if you want to leave or step out, the punishment is death. So one part of radicalization that we have here is Islamic radicalization. The second is another leftist ideology, which is a Maoist radicalization, which is a pseudo-communist ideology masquerading there as public welfare. But in essence, what we have seen is it's nothing but a smuggling mafia. They don't want economic development. They don't recognize any form of government. They have mass control over they had been having for the last 50 to 70 years mass control over tribal areas. They work with and in conjunction with local political parties and local authorities, and they had been very active in mining, deforestation, a lot of other activities. Earlier in the Eastern Corridor, we used to have several problems from Alpha to, it was much more dangerous than the Kashmir Valley, much more organized. So we had a different form of an extremism originating from the East. In the last couple of years, they tried to, through external interventions, they tried to rekindle this in terms of Manipur violence, etc., or creating a Christian state in that region, which clearly had failed. So they had been there again. This is because of the neglect from the past governments in developing the region. And once again, they've been into narco and timber trafficking, yielding power. And the reason, whatever may is because of lack of local governance. Move forward, sir. The success factor for any of these organizations is establishing a moral superiority through curriculum in schools, glorification of their past, or glorification of an ideal, which are spread through community unions, which attendance for which is mandatory. So this attendance for this is mandatory is the challenge, because certain communities, they have this gathering which, if you're part of the community, you are expected to attend, whether it's a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday, based on the region where you are. They have these congregations, and then they have the religious studies. If it's a religion-based organization, in the case of Maoist, it's a different story altogether. And it is drilled down right from, again, the childhood. The women are taught in a different way, the men are taught in a different way, the roles in the society are different. And again, all of this, the indoctrination starts right at the community level. And this again is purely a cash flow economics, which is designed to yield political influence. To add to that, we have this challenge with the educational representation of these vulnerable, I would not call it vulnerable exactly, because most of them they have all the opportunities. Again, when we go back to the typical Western style schooling, you could be a brilliant academician, but another kid could be a great athlete, but have zero interest in studies. So we met Sachin Tendulkar. If he had been forced him to sit in college, he would have probably flunked out. So certain communities are not academically inclined. And certain regions, whenever you see the certain communities, everywhere there's a congregation or there's a majority of those communities, even the community leader does talk about everything else except for the actual community development. They do more of rage baiting. Because their interest is not in the development of the community, but their interest is in using the community as an vote bank politics and for various nefarious activities. Let me tell you, Sharat Mohan sir, Mohanji, because you've been also, a global citizen. In India, in every district, you have an agent or multiple agents. So today I want to have a meeting. I need 1,000 people. What dress, what uniform, what flag, what Nara to tell, anything and everything. If I just give that, I'll have the same. I'll have a list of people. Whether I need 500,000, 10,000, or a lakh, it's only based on the money. This raw street power, it is not a natural gathering. Most political rallies as well, they are not natural gatherings. They send buses, they have massive logistics from village to village. People are informed, they're picked up, they're paid to attend gatherings. So when you see Shine Bagh happen, when you see the stone pelting happen, it's not any different. It is cash which does not come accounted into the system. Earlier we did not have good FCRA rules, which the government lately had cracked down. Look, again, I'm an educationalist. I had been to universities where there are forced conversions. I've been to places where I have witnessed students being used as drug mules, drug distribution. They're made addicted to it, and they are looped into the entire addiction business. Women are brought in based on what caste that he or she belongs. I'm pretty sure you would have seen the Kerala Files movie, which is an actual reality, not just in Kerala but also other parts, except it's not spoken because, hey, you know what, it's not cool to speak about it. Parents don't want to talk about it. Educators, nobody wants to talk about it because right now even education has become as in, there's no this guru shishya or the care for student. I'm here, I'm salaried, I've come, I need to walk through 10 sheets of paper. I need to correct a few things. That's pretty much my job. What the person does after or beyond or even in the class, it's not my headache because they are not paid enough. Again, you have the leftist narrative where education has to be free. If education has to be free, fees have to be kept low, you're not going to get good quality educators. So it's a vicious cycle. So you get kind of a mockery in terms of the quality. And then the entire system, it has spread, including the universities and colleges where, like for example, in a place like Bangalore or in most places in Kerala, students are addicted to drugs. Nobody is going to pay them a lot of money. The parents are going to question where the money is going to come from. So they introduce their friends so they could get a score. And all of this can always be traced back to certain community people, from what I've noticed. Not always true, but in most of the cases, yes. And they operate as a game because the education level or formal education levels are less. So when formal education levels are less, very simple. When I grew up as well, like in the US, it's the same thing. You have street thugs who says, you would have heard of the turf wars. Oh, this stuff belongs to me. That turf belongs to me. This is my tea star. This is where I have my tea and coffee, where I hang out. Other groups should not come here. So overall, it becomes a community, and when there is no economic activity happening in a particular region, especially like for example, used to be in the northeast or earlier in the Jammu and Kashmir or the Valley region, or certain parts of Chhattisgarh, Bihar, etc., wherever you used to see the Excel belts, whenever there's no economic activity that happens, and people are unemployed and they don't have anything else to do, what do you do? What do? People congregate. And then comes a person or certain individuals in every locality. Every locality has that at a ground up level who says, you know what, come work for me, go do this for me, go do that for me. And there's also a political narrative, because the moment you're educated, you're not going to be able to get groups or crowd for your political rallies. So it's an end-to-end corruption, which is slowly and slowly is getting fixed. Move forward, sir. So where does usually the money come from? You have the domestic and the foreign NGOs, which we spoke about. The domestic NGOs get their money, and it's once again everything is misappropriated. For the foreign NGO funding, there's a lot of clamping that has happened in the last 4 or 5 years. Although I would say it is too little, too late, but still, it's a move that has serious consequences that we can see in the society, where there used to be a hartal, a bandh, or something or the other that used to be called very often. Those frequencies have become more of a rarity. Misappropriation of funds, grants by most institutions in the name of welfare development for communities. Hawala, former fake currency network, which was run by the Congress government in coalition with the Pakistanis. How did within 8 months of India doing Notebandi, Sri Lanka becomes bankrupt, Pakistan becomes bankrupt, Bangladesh, until people are, singing praises of Bangladeshi economy. Oh, look, Bangladeshi GDP is better than Indian GDP. Like how very recently people are singing praises of Argentina and that their economy is doing great. And for again fake headlines. How did they just go back into very quick doing extremely well to being bankrupt? Fake currencies. The weekly congregation that used to happen up in the valley, where you used to see stone pelting. Where did all the stone pelters disappear to? Did we jail them all? Are we China to make them to disappear them? The government is working in a democratic framework with all legal loopholes and legal avenues left for the criminals and the crooked to walk away. So where did these people go? The money dried up. Sales and distribution of drugs down south. What good ever comes from? So if someone is raising money through the sale and distribution of drugs, what good is it ever going to come? Again, they are not going to go build a factory with the money that comes in. It is again put into the system for feeding these radical elements. Few radical elements are just economic opportunists. एक रोड में एक बंदा रोडी बन गया, वो किसी से भी पैसे लेगा, वो करेगा. But then they take I'll come to that point later. Then the next point is mandatory contributions, either through extortion or as part of being a community, is collected. We have this old saying which says only 20% of the German population were Nazis, but the majorities were only sideline supporters. It is same in the case that we're looking at, especially when it comes to certain aspect of radicalization. People watch from the sidelines. They don't have the energy nor the willingness to actively participate. But they have their moral support for them, which is a majority, especially when it comes to Islamic radicalization. Some affluent who are able to create, mostly funding for most of this comes from overseas and also from here. And they target the economic crowd to provide them funding. The third is the educated and the elite. The most harmful They are very low in percentage, but very determinal when it comes to the bank. So, an idiot trying to say that, okay, I'm going to be an extremist, is not going to have the same effect as, like, for example, people who are accomplished doctors who can put two and two together trying to plan an incident. It could have been a massive national level genocide had the recent bomb blast and the plans of these elements were to have come true. Move forward, sir. So those are different levels. Again, as I told you, the level of radicalization varies, which we had discussed before. You have the foot soldiers, who are those who are there to execute. These are usually from the economically lower section. They just handle as cannon fodder to jao ye karo. Again, it depends on who is the master, who controls them. So I'm running. मेरे पास 10 लोग हैं, 20 लोग हैं. Whether I'm a terrorist, whether I'm a extremist completely, or I'm doing this to get vote bank politics, or whether I want a control of a particular area, I need people to run drugs, drug runners. I need people to help me with my whatever activities that I'm doing. It depends on who they get caught on, or who the fisherman is, under whose net these people fall under. Youth are made easily ready and they are available. They are full of energy. They're easy to channelize, indoctrinate. And because I had seen this in person, there was this place where in Chennai that I grew up. There were a couple of slums nearby. And those were at one point of time, which was told in the 70s and 80s, the most dangerous areas in the whole of Tamil Nadu, that they produce most amount of rowdies. Where everyone had, where growing up, I had also seen in the 90s, where everyone used to have a sickle or multiple sickles in the house. A lot of people amputated, without legs and legs. Just, two villages as in two slums fighting with each other. 30, 40 people used to come out, start chopping for a basic, no good reason. And we still see that, unfortunately, in some areas like Madurai suburbs, Tirunelveli, where in the name of caste, you have this thing happening. They say in Tamil, Jadi Veri Padichavu. The Veri is basically radicalization. Why? Because there's no economic development. Why there is no economic development? It is by design. So Tuticorin had a beautiful factory, Sterlite, which he directly and indirectly produced, gave about 10,000 people plus economic food, food and what we call bread and wine, or food and water. And indirectly, with all the number of families, around 40-50,000 people in a very small town were dependent on one factory. Because of external funding, external funding, people are poor, revolted. The factory was shut down. Now there is zero economic activity in that area. So when there is a zero economic activity in the area, people will try to do whatever that they can to get by. And you have formed allegiances. And when you don't have a job in your region, and not everyone has a flexibility to move away from a town or a city to look for opportunities elsewhere, when you're stuck there, whoever gives you a job, they don't give you a job, they buy your loyalty. This part, buying your loyalty, is how people are usually sucked into a narrative warfare. Because once you have bought into a person's trust or loyalty, You are and you are supposed to or be bound to agree to their views or follow their whims and fancies and are obligated to do activities which is asked of you. Again, as I told you, terrorism is an extreme outcome. So when there is no opportunity, there's no factory, there's nothing. What do people do? They have formed gangs. They'll say, okay, go collect X amount, hafta from vendors. Cut trees, cut forest. Let us smuggle something and make some money, quick buck. Drugs are an easier way to make money because the inventory size is very small compared to the amount that you can earn. After you do it a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, all the moral guilt goes off. For every idea to succeed, one needs a role model as well. So here we are going to be very specifically speaking about Islamic radicalization. Islamic radicalization started around the 70s and 80s with more and more people moving to Saudi Arabia. And the Saudi spending money for Wahhabism in India. You always know that except than the original, the converts are trying to prove more true to the religion or true to the cause. The hijab suddenly became popular in many parts of India, which was never there even about a few decades before. The Wahhabi school of thoughts, which again we discussed earlier as you cannot have it's my way or the highway. Then there's this ideology of Pakistan that Hindus and Muslims can't live together, which is basically fact. Muslims can't live with Muslims. And Pakistan is still looked up as a model state for many in the northern belt, especially the Biharis and people in OUP. And they have this glorification of the past Islamic rule. You still have, as recent as a couple of years back, when Owaisi's own brother comes up in the media and says, take the police away, I will show what happened to Hindus. So if this is going to be if this is a public statement, what do they talk in private? What Sharad Mohan sir? When these are the statements that they make in public. What kind of statements do they make when they are in private or in their closed community doors? Where every Friday there's a person who's setting out a narrative, and people who are influenced by the talk, they connect offline, and they're brought in for other even more and more closed door sessions. That's how the filtering process starts now. Then you have once again, it is from bottom. They don't seek Sharia. They are not. These people are not Qattar Muslims. They don't seek Sharia. They'll say, Sharia, 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 Sharia. Do they want criminal code of Sharia? No. They want the social benefit. Look, I want to have 4 wives. I don't want this thing. I want whatever land I see, that land is mine. Rough poor. Today I see Sharad Mohanji, you have a nice backyard. Tomorrow, boss, that's my ancestor property. अबे किसका बाप का property है? They don't want Sharia. They're not like Afghanistan. They have zero interest. What they miss is, they miss the fact of the past glory. अबे we were ruling them. मैं बैठ के खाना खा रहा था, ये मेरा सेवा करता था. मुझे पसंद नहीं है तो मैं मारता, पीटता, या जो भी करता, कोई पूछने वाला नहीं है. So they live in this pseudo superiority complex. You would see videos or video shots of people because Aurangabad railway station has been changed or some road or this thing, that thing has changed. People proudly talking about Mughalai civilization, how Indus were basically the bitches. I don't have a big mouth filter, can do whatever they want. I'm talking about uneducated 18, 19-year-olds, 20-year-old or under 25 who produce Instagram reels and Facebook reels. Where does the thought come from? जो बंदे को no skills, nothing. Who was taught that history? Aurangzeb. Someone was saying that, you know what, we will take over Hyderabad. All this IT company land, everything is ours. They have to pay us taxes. And we should have been the one living in palaces. So the whole thing is, how do you push towards a victimhood narrative? You are the superior guy, but you are suppressed. You are oppressed. You are the guy who was ruling the planet. You are the guy who are the rulers of this land. ये गजवा इनका concept कहाँ से आया? I was ruling this. Why did this the country was split into half based on the population, based on religious lines, right? It was cut on religious lines. Why didn't people go? Because they said, मुझे उधर क्यों जाना, मैं इधर ही बन के राजा बनूंगा. West Bengal partition was basically crap. People went over there, then they came back, then they went there, then they came back. End of the day, कोई गया नहीं है वहाँ पे. People went there and they came back. यहाँ कुछ नहीं होने वाला करके. So these people, although they call themselves Islamists or whatever it is, they are not Islamists. If you talk about their core ideology, it is taught to them that I am better than everyone. People has to, I am Bacha, I'm going to sit here. People will have to come and serve me. Because if there were two Muslims, and of course, as like everyone, typical of them, har banda wants to do Raj over the woman. You stand in burqa, you maintain X number of birth rate, you have no voice, blah blah blah, all that stuff. That thing they're extremely good at. So what our understanding is, it is not even Sharia that they want. Pakistan में कौन सा Sharia है? Do they want Sharia? No. If you look at Pakistan, how, like for example, at some point of time for economic opportunity, you went to US. British for economic opportunity, right? Greener pastures करके. So there, Pakistani elite, they live overseas. They come to Pakistan. I have the economic opportunity here. लूट मार करके वापस यूके लेके चला जाऊं या यूएस या कहीं पे चले जाऊं. So these are expats come to rule like an invader, whether it is PM and whoever it is, सब एक ही इसका वो है. Their objective is make as much money and go, and the economically downtrodden and आने उसको उल्लू पे लगा दो. क्या करे, तुमको जिहाद करना, आ रहा बेटा हियर हाथ में ले लो AK-47, go. So all of this is basically artificially created nuisance. Move on to the next slide, sir. Now we talk about the next active Maoist fundamental organization, our next extreme organization that is active in India. It is on the way of dying. Another 1-2 years, it will be fully dead. These are CPI Maoist armed wing. So CPI, I'm not sure how much you were earlier into politics. So you had CPIM. Earlier you had 2-3 CPI parties. Now they're just only remnants are there in Kerala. So everywhere there was a CPI party, and this they had this Maoist agenda, which is again a false narrative and a fake agenda. It had nothing to do with anything else. Look, I need people, I need to make money. How do I make money? If I make development, people will ask for their rights. I'll give you an example. I live in Karnataka, we know a number of coffee estate owners. आज भी वहाँ जाएंगे तो you will find extreme slavery kind of a mentality. You don't stand in front of me, you don't this thing, you don't that thing. You have people treated like slaves. Either you come to Bangalore, कैसे भी कुछ भी काम करेगा तो मिनिमम 1 से 3,000 रुपये कोई भी आदमी कमा सकता है with any skill. People who beg make more money in Bangalore. There, the people, the way they are treated. I have a few years back, I'm not going to say which state. This is through a common friend. I went to a particular estate, not even calling whether it's a tea estate, coffee estate. We can talk about this in private. So I saw this person with my friend who introduced, he says it was his relative back then, who said that he always carries 2 pistols of guns with him whenever he walks. And I've literally seen the guy, saw a person riding a new bike. He called and asked, where did he get the bike from? That fellow said, I just bought it. Cash or EMI? He said cash. He burnt that bike and tied him to a tree. That was an employee, a relative, not even the employee. So when you go into what we are seeing, our fancy language and the beautiful highways that we go through, that's not the only India. There again, which is why I said it is all cash flow and economics. It makes economic sense for them to maintain their standard of whatever that they're living in, whatever that their lifestyle is. That no, I cannot have this person be educated. I cannot have this person understand that he has rights. So subjugation is also part of how do you create radicalization. You subjugate the person to your thoughts, and whether you want the outcome to be a radicalized person or whatever it is, it's entirely up to you. So this is a Maoist movement that whom we say as a radical movement, etc. in India, is nothing but a Luterello. And they get a cover firing from the left, from all the universities, journalists, political parties. Oh, you need to sit and talk with them. For what? They won't let me even open a school or put a road to connect a village, give electricity. If someone falls sick, they have to go 3 to 4 hours to find the nearest clinic because there is no road. A 30-kilometer patch could be just a 30-kilometer patch that could be traversed in 15 minutes or 4 hours or 5 hours also, based on whether it's a road or not. I don't even a 15-kilometer patch. By the time most people die, or they cannot be taken to a hospital, and then you will say that okay, the government is to blame. Of course, the earlier governments were somewhere to blame, but this has been nothing but a very lucrative business, and it is very lucrative to people to keep people poor, just like what US does worldwide. To make money, I'll ensure that I don't care who dies, what dies. Does US Americans care how many Ukrainians die? No. For the war is supposed to weaken this country, that country. How many people died in Libya, Iraq, Syria? They were stable governments, stable places. They don't care. It's the same thing. Here, people, it's the economics that follows. So move forward, sir. So again, so to summarize, the solution for the CPI based radicalization is very simple. Toko. There is no actual strong ideology. There's no intent. The intent is make money by the elites. But when it comes from wherever we see, it is because of lack of economic development. Economic development and enforcing laws, fair laws, enforcement, not having laws, but enforcing laws and cutting out funding. That black market money, cash flow, cash money, cash economy. Cutting that solves about 90 to 9, not 90%, 95% to 98% of all the problems. But when it comes to Islamic radicalization, there is a couple of more additional layer of complexity from my perspective. We are not China, we are not an authoritarian government where say, okay, you know what, this is a region where there are 40 people of certain community which are not sitting well with the rest of my country. So I'll do a complete lockdown. We can't do that. We don't do that because we are a moral society as well. We can keep morality on the side. If you noticed, after the Notebandi stopped, I have said this example before, 90% of Kashmir has been quiet. Shaheen Bagh exercise happened. After that, they have tried several times. Both of you and me know. They have tried to create a mobilization effort like Nepal, like Bangladesh. How if farmers protest, this protest, so people will come. They will rise up and government paltenge. None of that had been able to happen because there is no ideology. It is just funding. Funding के पीछे people आ जाते हैं. And they are not extremely radicalized. They have some ideology. Thoda leftist mindset something, but not enough for them to suffer. So it is important that as we go forward, that any and every loop, when it comes to cash economics or money coming from anywhere or cash transfers, are monitored on real-time basis. This will solve 99% of capability to strike. Next slide, we'll talk about the intent. We are again speaking about this Islamic form of radicalization. Again, every group, they have a source. When we talk about in India, the problem has largely been with the Sunni. And they take, who do they look up to? They keep saying Maghrib, which is basically Saudi Arabia. And they have this from Pakistan through US funding. You have elements coming in, which has become more of a nuisance. And the same you Americans again funding Jamaat in Bangladesh through the Pakistanis, the training, support, etc. What is the way? The Bangladeshis look up to Pakistanis. Bangladeshi Jamaitis, they look up to Pakistanis. Physical breakup of Pakistan is necessary. Because then they will not have anyone to look up to immediately. As important as economic breakdown of Saudi Arabia. It's a very big ask. It's something which most people don't talk about. If you talk about, look at Ankit Shah's prediction, how Saudi Arabia will no longer be an Islamic country, how Iran has the lowest birth rates of any Muslim regimes. In the protests, we are looking at Iranians destroying mosques. They are against and they're fed up of this Islamic mindset. They have, of course, somehow they either relate to wanting to think that Christianity is modern, or some might want to move to Zoroastrianism or something. For across the Middle East and region where the Wahhabism has spread. What do they look up to? The Saudis. Until there is an economic fall of the Middle East, economic fall of this major Middle Eastern power, we are not going to see everlasting or permanent, not permanent, a long-term resolution. Iran has been funding who? Sunnis.
Shia.
That is Hezbollah Shia, na?
Iran.
Hezbollah and Shia. Iran is Shia. Who have they been funding? Who is Hamas? Hamas is Sunni. They have been now funding Syria after ISIS has gone. ISIS was earlier funded by US. When ISIS was American, who were they? They were basically Sunnis who were massacring all the Shias, Ahmadi, and all the other Muslim sects, other Islamic sects. Who are the Islamists ISIS massacring? Other Islamic sects, no? Now that ISIS had settled down, these people are once again, कुछ भी फायदा हो जाए, I'll fund you anything, fund anyone anywhere. So end of it, sir, these two countries should economically fall. Because without the economic fall, people will still, no matter how much of de-radicalization effort that MBS tries to take up, they still have that icon that, दूध का शहद मिलेगा, ये मिलेगा, वो मिलेगा, whatever that they talk na. Look at Saudi, how beautiful it is, how successful it is. Look at this place, how it is. They have this vision that they'll go there, settle there, or be accepted as their own. Somehow that has to fall. That's the only way to find a permanent solution for de-radicalization, not just in our subcontinent. Our subcontinent, 90% will get resolved one. पाकिस्तान को लात मार के ब्रेकअप हो जाता. साउथ में कुछ लोगों को कीड़ा होता, केरला में. Everyone will hair पूरा, the skin. They think themselves as Arab. उधर सऊदी अरेबिया और कतार या बहरीन या कहीं पे भी जाओगे तो they say that I'm an Indian, this Muslim, let's say जाके टॉयलेट क्लीन करो. They don't even treat them as a human being, especially in Saudi Arabia and UAE. पाकिस्तानीज को और भी पूछते भी नहीं है, अभी करके अंदर भी नहीं छोड़ते हैं. They are not treated as on par. They'll come here, they'll all wear this white and white. What are you wearing white and white for? And every tea shop in every area will be all this, all that, all Sharjah, all Mughal, all this thing, all that thing. What does all mean? I have no idea. Anyways, that's the conclusion that I could see as a probable solution where the intent could be curbed. It is much easier to and practical to capabilities go. But the intent always will remain. How do you whitewash the intent? You don't have a role model to look up to. Reforms in the education system. And it's a decade-long project. That's it from my end, sir.
Okay. So thank you for preparing this presentation, Venkatji. That's why I call you Siddhar from Tamil Nadu, a contemporary one. Again, that's a big ask, but I think you will definitely work on it. But there are a few things I took from your discussion, and let me ask those questions. You mentioned about the cash flow economics and the reason for de-radicalization, but I heard both the aspect. One is you very rightly brought about the Notbandi, and there was this movie Dhurandhar in I think in Bollywood, which which brought that story where an Indian ex-finance minister and his finance secretary, were complicit. Again, this all allegations, so I'm not naming the gentleman. I think Venkatji shares the state with him. But when the Notebandi happened, 40,000 crore rupees or currency was in the RBI locker, meaning that the penetration was so much that it had entered even your RBI, because of the, we know all the stories from UK how that thing was imported. And a lot of people mentioned that Notebandi is a flop show and this was a very Tughlaki type of decision. Money went, the amount of money which went inside, same money came out, something like that. But they totally forgot about the bankruptcy of the Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and even
Maldives, Bangladesh.
yes, and you
How did
rightly
Maldives suddenly become become bankrupt? How did Pakistan suddenly become bankrupt?
true, and
How
that's
did earlier during those days, pretty much every time there used to be a riot. Delhi mein always there used to be something, something, something. Everywhere there used to be something. More political rallies also,
and
not just
you
riots. More political rallies.
true. You rightly brought that, and that I wanted to highlight. The second thing you mentioned was this cash flow. So it's again, for the viewers. I'm just wearing the devil's advocate hat here. Um, for the viewers, we heard both parts, right? One, at some point in the discussion, you mentioned that the driver and the low financially challenged person from a community are easily radicalized because of the cash flow, and the cash stopped, and then it was to some extent changed. But then in the recent Delhi blast, we see the top who takes the oath on when they become a doctor to save the human life. That kind of person with all kind of education, affluence, good life, could still be radicalized to do a level of harm. So what I'm seeing
So
is,
yeah, I get you. I get your point, sir.
so
So
one thing I wanted to add. So what I'm seeing in that is, the poor people can only make one Sivakasi type of a bomb, but with the brain, the scale could be maximized to the level where you have a military kind of a devastation. Now, yeah, you can answer that.
yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, they usually take up the roles of masterminds, the educated people. Osama bin Laden was also a jihadi, a terrorist. For some day he is looked up as, but he is not the one who marched in the front ranks with a gun. He posed with a gun, but he was more of a mastermind. He took the role of a mastermind. So what we saw in the Delhi bus was an exception to what we usually see, where these people had usually been and are always seen as coming down for giving intellectual cover fire, running the show from the background. They usually like to sit in luxury. And here, I would say, not unfortunate, here somehow they became the foot soldiers.
Hmm.
Well planned out everything. All this planning happened because they had two cents of brain. पढ़ा लिखा अनपढ़ को उतना conscious नहीं रहता to make those extensive planning, long-sighted planning. Tactical planning to हर when you're in the game you learn, you get the street smarts, but this was at a completely different level. And once again, if you were to notice, what has not been spoken about is who provided the infrastructure, the funding. So these are once again foot soldiers who are recruited, given something, etc. But then there's still the mastermind who's the owner of the university, who's the funding people. उनके ऊपर ED चला गया. Actually, NIA should go and basically take that fellow, call him a traitor, and put him behind.
Okay.
So they
So,
are. So you have
hmm,
the masterminds, and this is more of an exemption to the rule. कहीं
okay.
गांव से पकड़ लिया आदमी को बंदूक दे दिया, अरे बेटा तू जाओ जन्नत.
Hmm. ठीक है.
That's what you see.
Okay, so moving on to the next one. Another observation I took from your presentation was that you mentioned about the cash flow directly proportional to the street power, right? And you gave a lot of examples. Now, let me twist the question a little bit, right? The three states in India. I'll just take, for example, the Tamil Nadu with the DMK politics, Bengal with the TMC politics, and Uttar Pradesh with Yogi and BJP politics. So I've covered all the three major aspects of India. We see people representing their leadership thought process, whether it's TMC or DMK or a Yogi ji, people coming on the street and supporting their government. Now, is that not the is that not because these government are very very popular among the people, or you see even the politician are using money to bring the forces uh, and demonstrate against the federal government sometime, or against the country, or against a community in the case of Uttar Pradesh? What's your
Okay.
take?
So the three states are Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and UP.
No, Tamil Nadu, Bengal, and Uttar Pradesh.
I don't know about Bengal, so I cannot comment about Bengal. Let us take a very simple state, Kerala.
Hmm.
You have roots in Kerala as well.
Okay.
Let me put it this way. I am someone growing up, I used to call UP as Ulta Pradesh. कभी कुछ भी ठीक नहीं जाता वहाँ पे. The moment you leave Delhi, cross into Ghaziabad, it's basically the law of the jungle. No development, no roads. From the roads, your infrastructure, you get to see everything. And this is about 15-20 years back a story. Today, UP, because of the leadership, strong leadership, it is a change place. And still, what if this change has started to happen 70 years back? UP would have been the number one state in India. Would have been. With the ideal leadership, a lot of things changes. Now, Tamil Nadu, again a place that I was born, grew up till I was there. I'm 19 years old. I was there. In between, I had been visited and been in Tamil Nadu. Now, Tamil Nadu, there is both a spiritual angle to it as well. Tamil Nadu had never aligned with the center. From the early 70s, there had been this narrative that Hindi imposition. Hindi imposition was unnecessary because they tried to copy the Pakistani model. The center back then, a Congress government, they tried to because when India was formed, there was no country like India as a working model anywhere in the world. Every country had only one language, or either one language or one religion. The Middle East, they all had the same religion but same language. They had different kingdoms. Europe, largely Catholic, except for UK, which is Christian. You had by language every few hundred kilometers a different country. So people expected India to fail and Pakistan, East and West Pakistan, to be the successful country, which is why US sided with Pakistan to begin with, to say that, hey, you know what, I'll promote Pakistan because this model where you have reports from Columbia, Harvard, everyone said that from the day of birth of independence, this is a country because of the diversity, it is doomed to fail. So there was a experiment of once again forcing one language into Tamil Nadu, Hindi, and people went against it. Number one. Number two, you had this false narrative of Dravidianism. In none of the southern states had the theory of Dravidianism stuck, except for Tamil Nadu, where they claim that yes, they are part of the land, but the people in North India and the rest of the people, they are invaders or they come and settlers from Europe. Not true. In Andhra, people don't accept the theory. In Karnataka, they don't accept the theory. In
Kerala, they don't.
Kerala, they don't accept the theory. But Tamilians are Dravidians.
Yeah.
So it's again a political narrative. And the third was and has been that I don't have a religion.
That's
I am an atheist.
huh.
Well, the ground reality is completely different.
Different.
So every time they say they take the name of certain chief ministers, Ambedkar was also from Tamil Nadu only, right?
Ambedkar was from Maharashtra.
Maharashtra, sorry. Some roads are sorry, I just got that part confused.
Ambedkar was
So
from
even like Thirukkural, the person who wrote the Thirukkural,
EVR, Abna, yeah, that famous person.
So everything has been a narrative driven. Another thing is in Tamil Nadu, political parties were quick to realize propaganda. North में लोग slow रहते हैं, these people are smart. सच में North में लोग slow रहते हैं. What they did was, Sun TV was earlier DMK party, Sun TV, Gemini, everything.
I know that.
Then Kalinga TV, Jayalalitha came, she started her own channel. Vijayakant came, he started his own channel. So if you want to have a political party, you need to have your own channel and set of channels. So there the propaganda machine started working. Here we talk about in the north saying we cannot even win a narrative war when we went and blasted the shit out of Pakistan. We cannot win a basic narrative, we cannot put it up. We go learn from the Tamilians.
Understood. Okay.
So that is a narrative war. So Kerala is a communist state. Like any communist state, there is no industry, there is no actual growth, and every village, everyone has to be part of either a Congress or CPI. And has to go attend this thing. So, for example, in Kerala, it is so unionized. You're shifting to Kerala, or you're in Kerala. Maybe you're going from Cochin to Tirunelveli, you're shifting your house. Your lorry wala, your packers and movers will come, take your stuff. But once you reach Tirunelveli from Cochin, or whichever part in Kerala, that fellow will not even allow you to. The local union will come. They will not even allow you to remove your own furniture out of the truck. Exactly. That's how horrible the unionized Kerala is.
I've seen it in Kochi last year. The strength.
And to summarize,
strength.
The latest DMK government, they were earlier okay into small things. Now they are heavily funded from overseas.
Yeah.
They have a narrative that they are spreading. Then also you have this Christian narrative that they are spreading. And they are also, like, for example, in the past, just before the last election or before the central election, one of the parliament members was caught with a consignment of so many hundreds of crores of drugs.
Yeah.
So how does it goes unnoticed? Suddenly today you are Sharat Mohanji, you are driving a Cadillac. Tomorrow you are driving a Bentley. Will nobody notice?
Yeah.
From Cadillac to Bentley. Or taking private helicopter. Will no one notice? So Tamil Nadu is a little complex game. People are unwilling. People have in words hatred towards because it's been drilled to them that Hindi people want to come and impose, and they have done extremely very good narrative.
Extremely well. Yes. So viewers, you're watching you're watching Gold Guppe, please do subscribe. And we are on Facebook and Instagram also. So what we're almost wrapping up. So what Venkatji mentioned was the Hindi imposition, and I have a lot of my DMK friends with, and we always have a friendly bad argument and so many things. The 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 emotion, the passion, and then the amount of brainwash, even staying in 20 to 30 years in America, I'm not able to penetrate my all the respected Tamilian friends who have been working in America for 20, 30 years. Their kids cannot speak Tamil, but the Hindi imposition and Tamil pride, uh, fake Tamil pride, because Tamil is my India's civilizational main language. All our culture, Agastya Muni land, Shiva land, Vishnu land, all Sri Ram's story, everything comes from Tamil Nadu. And the way this Hindi imposition, the politics of Raja Gopalachari and Nehru, when he introduced this in the school system, and then it was very smartly passed on. So it was a political fight, and then it eventually came to the us versus them. All right, we can discuss this more. Actually, I'm planning to have a larger session with this. I've also written a book on this. I went to Tamil Nadu and met the scholar, the no, Bharat, Padma Shri person. He's no more, and I also discussed Tirukural with him. So I'll talk to this sometime in my next show. But again, Tamil Nadu, and another story I hear, oh, the people from Bihar, they are the people who Ashoka sent through his son and daughter to Sri Lanka, and then Sri Lankans are Biharis actually, and that's why Tamil and Biharis are fighting. All kinds of narrative and the problem.
So basically, you have nonsense,
I know, I know.
and one you have because of this masquerading. So you have a lot of Christians who showcase themselves as Tamil. I'll
Yes,
tell you very honestly, it's a much more religious place.
it is.
Much more religious place. The temples are still preserved. So the spiritual aspect in Tamil Nadu, I rate it very highly. But the common people in Tamil Nadu, it's a whole different story. So there are people who are out there just for the narrative, and unfortunately, those are the people who are in power. I've spoken last 2 3 times that I was there in Tamil Nadu. The actual public, many of them, they do not agree. Forget agreeing with BJP. That's not ever gonna happen. But agreeing with the current government of the DMK, what they're doing, because it is corruption everywhere. During Ram Mandir inauguration, temples were not allowed to open in Tamil Nadu.
So bad.
Recent Madurai issue. Look, the place is called the Madurai. Very simple. I'm not going into legal law and law. Those things I don't care. It is one of the 6 adobes of Lord Skanda, Kartikeya. Kartikeya is one of the most revered gods
Yeah.
in Tamil Nadu.
Hmm.
The temple and the Malay is called Tirunir Malai. Tirunir means your Vibhuti.
Hmm.
And it is his Malay.
Hmm.
So there you go and you say, I'm not allowed to, in that hill, light the lamp.
Yeah, very, very sad.
Why would the people? I think we are getting to an edge where sooner or later people are going to
Blast.
completely charge up and revolt.
Yeah, that's is actually heading to that.
It's
Yes,
it is inevitable.
yes, it is. Okay. So two more points, and then we'll wrap up. So you
Sure.
mentioned about the Middle East politics and all, and um, see Saudi Arabia, as even Ankit Shahji is telling, there will be a lot of Jews influence and all those things. The Wahhabism was definitely one of the investment which Saudi had, but this was, I would say, in early 90s. It definitely stopped because
From
at that time,
70s onwards.
huh?
From 70s onwards it started. 70s,
Yeah.
80s onwards it started, Wahhabism.
But then it was a power politics within Islamic three categories between Turkey, between Iran, and between Saudi Arabia, who takes the lead, and they were all trying to be a better Muslim. Regarding Sharia and all, it has we can have a different discussion. Yes. Indians and Pakistani, they want the political aspect of Sharia, not the, as you said, the jurisprudence or the punishment part of it, where even for a theft, your hand will be cut off. And Umar, Khalid, and others who are in the Indian prison, their head should be chopped off if it was Sharia, because they went against the state, right, as per the law. But
Absolutely.
you
No,
cannot
this is just basically convenience.
have mixed of anything, right? So, and then this is not a Muslim land, even for the population perspective. So anyway, so that's a different discussion. My last question is, if India, and as Ambedkar ji himself said, and he recorded, that there should have been a population swap, exchange between Pakistan, East and West Pakistan, and India, in a very positive way, because now you had selected a land where Hindus cannot live, and you wanted to have a land of Pakistan to practice your religion, custom, and it was agreed, right, reluctantly. But once that was done, there was no population exchange. And if there was a no population exchange, right, now the population of the minority is mainly Muslim, and they are not a minority, because 20 crore population cannot be termed as a minority in any definition. How will India then, de-radicalize our own people? Because now they are sons of the soil, right? You just cannot wish them away. No government can do that. So there has been a 14 years, almost, right, 3 terms of BJP now, but the nationalist government. I don't see any plan to de-radicalize these 20 crore people and make them strong nationalist again, through all kinds of mechanism, right? It's not happening.
I'll get to that, CEO, which I've mentioned in the last couple of points which I raised on. So you can't go through the China way.
Agreed.
So that is off the books. You have the UP model. So the BJP government is in the center, but not every state has got a BJP government or a strong leader like Yogi or so the Assamese chief minister at the helm of the state enforcing law and order. Bihar has more Muslims than most Muslim countries. Sorry, Bihar, sorry, UP. यूपी में अगर ऑर्डर हो सकता तो केरला में ऑर्डर नहीं हो सकता क्या? If UP they can maintain order, in Kashmir can they maintain order? This is basically cash flow politics, sir. One is cash flow. So for radicalization, for anything, you have to take the capability. There are two parts. One is capability, the other one is intent. Capability through controlling the cash flow and enforcing the rule of law to the max. Like in Maharashtra, they tried. With the earlier opposition government, they were there, they were running amok. Abhi, Chuta Abhi, no tolerance to anything by anyone. I'm not talking about just this government, I'm talking about by anyone. Karnataka is opposite. West Bengal is opposite. Why? There is no rule of law. No enforcement of rule of law. So you can always control the capability and to what extent someone will go do drama. Intent is a different question. For intent, who do you look up to? They look up to Pakistan. They look up to Maghreb. Why Pakistan, especially in the middle, northeast, northern belt? Bengal, don't forget, Bengal was this place where the idea of Pakistan was born.
Yeah, that's very
Bengal
less
is
understood. Yes, agreed.
Bengal is the actual culprit.
It started
There
from
were no
yes,
riots in Lahore or Karachi.
correct.
Hindu extermination started in now East and West Bengal in
Noah,
Calcutta.
Noakhali
Hmm?
massacre. Noakhali massacre.
Yes, so it started there.
And this is where Gandhi went and did his Bhuk Hartal
Gandhi is an asshole.
and
So,
all
sorry,
this.
you can cut it off. If the Gandhi, Nehru, they are all negotiators. कौन सा freedom उन्होंने जिताया? They are negotiators. Again, why I said, you again brought up Ankit Shah's point about Saudi Arabia. I have to slightly differ over there. Nobody changes their religion or their faith because when you are economically prosperous,
Correct.
you have to be brought into an enough amount of strain economically or either by the sword or economically where you need to be strangulated or suffocated that you start looking for other options. For example, Iran, their population has been pressurized so much that they do not like to even hear or see a Molvi. Most people. Yes, sir.
I'll differ here because Saudi Arabia is the original creator of Islam, whereas Iran is a convert. So that's the difference.
Ah, I'm agreeing with you on all of the stuff. However, if I need to, as long as they are economically stable, economically viable for them to look up to. Nobody looks up to Afghanistan. What's the difference between Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia 10 years back before MBS came over? Neater, cleaner place with Sharia, dirty place with Sharia. Same laws applicable for women. This is richer, neater place. Saudi Arabia was. That is poorer place with no money. Same laws. Udhar bhi Sharia, idhar bhi Sharia. Any difference? No difference. Standard of living is different, that's all. Do people look up to Afghanistan? I want to be like that? No. I want to be like Saudi Arabia. That role modelism has to go. How does it go unless you don't financially wither away? The place could exist, but who will look up to a pauper? Will anyone look at a poor guy and say, "Look, I want to be like that fellow"? People will say, "I want to be like Bill Gates." Right now, sir, or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. They are my role models.
Okay.
Right, sir? And so
Okay.
this is my perspective. As in for the intent to go. And if there is a way to moderate the madrasas and what they teach, or completely banned Devband and Barelvi movement. If
Okay.
their book is not, you should go read the book.
Okay. Okay. Um,
Words.
the last observation of the day was you mentioned about the corruption. You brought about the Karnataka and how there is still a treatment of slavery. I was very shocked to hear that thing, and this is where I think Tamil Nadu has done really well and can be role model for India if they don't keep on falling into the same. Politics of imposition and all those things. They should reach out to people and because Tamil Nadu has shown India how social reform could be done in the villages and how it has empowered a large section of the Indians in the villages. Whereas you mentioned about Karnataka, where in the mining areas and Kolar and all. I know what area you were mentioning, where people.
This is that's the reason because I didn't mention the state, the place, or what kind of estate it is. It is an estate. So estate means it's got to be either coffee or tea. I leave that part
Okay, okay, understood.
the same.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
it is again forest people, tribal people. They have been extremely exploited. So
They
that
have.
exploitation still continues.
We have seen movies also. Yes, I've seen the movies, and one of the reason why the Naxal movement got so much support was because of the tribal land issue, which between tribals and non-tribal. So we have known all those things. I have I have been
What you read in academia is not always the same as to what the real thing
on the
is.
ground.
So
Yes.
tribal is very simple. Look, you are supposed to pay someone 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees per day salary, or earlier 700 or 800. No, 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 no. I'll give you only 100. Doesn't work, no. And I don't want your this thing. I won't allow schools to come up. I won't allow anything else to come up.
Yeah. I mean,
This is true.
this happened in
This is true.
India. Yeah, so the Jharkhand state was carved out for tribal only. It was not carved the way it was intended. Only Bihar lost, but it was supposed to have Odisha and Madhya Pradesh tribal area, and then a big state of Jharkhand was supposed to be created, but it didn't happen that way. But yeah, I mean. A lot of things we have empowered tribal, and thankfully we have a president who is from that community, so India is doing it. I mean, even if
So
it's
yeah,
yeah.
there has to. The thing is, what I see here is गली में पानी नहीं आ रहा,
Hmm.
रोड में दो लोग झगड़ा कर रहे हैं, मेरे घर के बाहर nobody picked up the garbage. Modi is at fault. What is the local government, local panchayat?
No,
They're
you don't.
doing.
Yeah.
You don't question the right authorities, and the corruption is at this level, at the lowest level. At the highest level, they are setting things right. So your answer to your question as to Jharkhand, other states did not join. Why? The tribal at the forest areas where there is a Maoist belt, why those places did not join? It is because probably each area is controlled by a different Maoist cult or whatever you want to call the group, and the local politicians and everyone has got their own interest with what is being smuggled out. Simple. Everything can be traced back to money. And once you look at a problem from a cash flow perspective, you will solve most of the problems. Most of the problems will be solved.
Okay. All right. So, okay, viewers, you heard it was a long deliberation, but very good. And all the views which Tharunji brought, if you agree, if you don't agree, if you're offended, please take it as just a view, just as a debate. We are not trying to prophesize anything, all right? It's just a discussion. And being a healthy democracy, you need to hear all sides of the story. It doesn't mean that what we are saying is the ultimate truth. We don't believe in that kind of discussion.
Everyone's perspective is different. What I see is different from what you see, what another person sees. Anyway, thank you, Sharad Mohan ji. Thanks for welcoming. Look forward to again appearing back in your channel, this time with more to understand about cash, silver cash, what
Sure.
is happening with the silver market, and
Yeah.
also people are talking about Bank of Japan.
Sure.
What are the implications of Bank of Japan? We'll talk about that. That will be little bit more technical.
Okay. Okay, Tarunji, you can drop.
Thank you, sir.
You can drop now.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, sir.